Welcome to Clinical Reasoning Series. Please note this discussion is only for academic purposes. Today we're going to discuss one case in ENT. Question: a 30-year-old female with a family history of hearing loss from mother's side developed hearing problem during pregnancy. Hearing loss is bilateral, slowly progressive. Pure tone audiometry shows an apparent bone conduction hearing loss at 2000 Hz. What is the most likely the diagnosis? Option A, otosclerosis. Option B, acoustic neuroma. Option C, otitis media with effusion. Option D, sigmoid sinus thrombosis. Now, we're going to discuss these clinical conditions one by one. First, otosclerosis. It is the diagram of bony labyrinth. Now, in the bony labyrinth, fissula antifenestrum, it is the only part which is made up of cartilage. So, in the bony labyrinth, fissula antifenestrum, it is the cartilaginous part. Now, from the name itself, we have a clue that this fissula antifenestrum is anterior to oval window. We know that oval window, it is the communication between middle ear and inner ear. This oval window is closed by foot plate of steps. Foot plate of steps. So this fissula antifenestrum is triggered by viral infection like measles, and sometimes the hormonal changes like pregnancy or menopause also trigger the fissula antifenestrum. So this fissula antifenestrum lies anterior to oval window. So the overgrowth comes on oval window. Oval window covered by foot plate of steps. So it comes over the foot plate of steps and fixes it. So what will happen in this condition? There is a disturbance in the ossicular chain. Foot plate of steps is fixed. So the patient will have what type of deafness? Conductive hearing loss. Please note, in otosclerosis, patient will have conductive hearing loss. Now, what are the clinical features of otosclerosis? Otosclerosis is present in the third decade, that is 20 to 30 years of age. And please note, it is more common in female and ratio to male is 2:1. It is autosomal dominant disorder with a positive family history. It is a bilateral condition. So patient present with bilateral progressive conductive hearing loss. Please note, in serous otitis media, there also bilateral conductive hearing loss will be there. But in serous otitis media, the type of conductive deafness is fluctuating conductive hearing loss in serous otitis media, whereas in otosclerosis, it is progressive conductive hearing loss. And please note, serous otitis media, it is more commonly seen in children. And otosclerosis, sensorineural hearing loss also possible. How? Because sometimes the overgrowth may reach the inner ear. So in that case, the patient will have sensorineural hearing loss. So in otosclerosis, there can be the mixed hearing loss. So sometimes they may ask you single best answer, what type of deafness you see in otosclerosis. So in otosclerosis, please note conductive deafness greater than mixed hearing loss. In otosclerosis, we also note paracoesis-Wilsey phenomenon. What is that? The patient gives typical history of hearing better in noisy surroundings. How? Because the speaker raises his voice in noisy surroundings, which now crosses the hearing threshold of the patient. So, paracoesis-Wilsey phenomenon, it is seen in otosclerosis. In the otoscopy, how the tympanic membrane will be? Please note, the tympanic membrane is normal in most of the cases, that is purely white tympanic membrane. But in 10% of active cases, tympanic membrane is flamingo pink color. Now this sign is called as Schwartz sign. So again, Schwartz sign is seen in otosclerosis. Purely flamingo pink color of tympanic membrane is seen only in 10% of active cases. So in otosclerosis, normally the tympanic membrane is purely white in color. Only in 10% of the cases, tympanic membrane is flamingo pink color. Another important feature of otosclerosis is in pure tone audiometry, a typical dip at 2000 Hz in bone conduction. Now please see the pure tone audiometry diagram. Now we are seeing the AB gap. So AB gap, it is the suggestive of conductive deafness. So it is the pure tone audiometry of conductive deafness. And how to come to diagnosis of otosclerosis? In otosclerosis, you see the typical dip at the 2000 Hz in the bone conduction curve. Why? Because the natural frequency of foot plate of stapes is 2000 Hz. Hence, its fixation fails to transmit this frequency sound. So this dip is called as Carhart's notch. So Carhart's notch, it is the feature of otosclerosis. These are the features we have to remember for otosclerosis. Next, we are going to discuss acoustic neuroma. Acoustic neuroma, it is the most common tumor of cerebellopontine angle. But actually, this tumor arises in internal acoustic meatus. So initial symptoms because of compression of adjacent structures in the internal acoustic meatus. Later, the tumor grows into CP angle. So later symptoms arises because of compression of structures in the CP angle, cerebellopontine angle. Please note, acoustic neuroma occurs mainly in the old age group 40 to 70 years of age. If it is present in the young age group, then the patient should be investigated for neurofibromatosis. Now see the diagram. This is the superior view of the skull base. Now please identify this bone here. Yes, that bone is petrous part of temporal bone. Internal auditory meatus, it is present in the petrous part of temporal bone. And I will mark this foramen also. So please identify this foramen. So this foramen is jugular foramen. So what are the nerves passing through jugular foramen? Jugular foramen transmit 9th nerve, 10th nerve and 11th nerve. And this is the apex of the petrous temporal bone. That is the apex of the petrous temporal bone. So what are the nerves related to the apex of the petrous temporal bone? 6th nerve. And we also see Meckel's cave here. So Meckel's cave, it is where the trigeminal ganglion is situated. So trigeminal ganglion situated in the Meckel's cave. So initially the acoustic neuroma, the nerve present in the internal auditory meatus will be compressed. Later 9th nerve, 10th nerve and 11th nerve will be compressed. Again, sometimes the tumor may go anteriorly. In that case, it may compress 6th nerve and 5th nerve. So these are some basics we have to know about acoustic neuroma. Now it is the diagram of internal auditory meatus. Now what are the structures passing through internal auditory meatus? Now this is the falciform crust. By means of this crust, we are dividing the internal auditory meatus into superior part and the inferior part. And by means of Bill's bar, we are dividing the superior part into anterior and posterior. So please note, in the superior posterior aspect, we see the vestibular nerve, superior vestibular nerve. Below, inferior vestibular nerve. And the anterior aspect, facial nerve, and below that, cochlear nerve. Acoustic neuroma, it is arising from inferior vestibular nerve. So that is the MCQ. They may ask you in the NEET exam. So inferior vestibular nerve, it is the origin for our acoustic neuroma. So what are the clinical features? The cochlear nerve will be compressed. So because of cochlear nerve compression, the patient will have what type of deafness? Yes, very good. That is sensorineural hearing loss, and that is unilateral condition. Now, later the vestibular nerve also compressed, superior vestibular nerve also compressed. So, if superior vestibular nerve is compressed, then the patient will have vertigo. But in acoustic neuroma, vertigo is not seen. No vertigo. Why? Because vertigo is seen only in acute destruction. Since acoustic neuroma is the slow growing tumor, the central compensation from the opposite side will be there. So in this case, the patient will not have vertigo. And later, the compression of facial nerve will be there. And please note, in facial nerve, motor fibers are resistant to compression. In this regard, fifth nerve involvement is seen more common than the seventh nerve. Now we are seeing the diagram of the pinna, the sensory supply. So major part of the auricle is supplied by great auricular nerve, and it is also supplied by lesser occipital nerve, auriculotemporal nerve, and the external auditory canal is supplied by vagus nerve, and the postero-superior aspect of external auditory canal is supplied by seventh nerve. So in the case of seventh nerve compression, the patient will have loss of sensation in the postero-superior aspect of the auricle, and this sign is called as Hitzelberger sign. And please note, this sign is subjective and it is less significant. Next, we are going to discuss serous otitis media. Please note, serous otitis media, it is commonly seen in children. It is mainly due to adenoid hypertrophy. Adenoid, it is the midline structure. So the patient will have bilateral eustachian tube block, and the patient will have bilateral fluctuating conductive hearing loss. In adults, the serous otitis media, it is a unilateral condition, and we have to investigate the adults for carcinoma, nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Next condition we are going to discuss is sigmoid sinus thrombosis. Sigmoid sinus thrombosis, it is the complication of unsafe CSOM. So, the patient usually present with fever, ear discharge, hearing loss, and jugular vein area tenderness, and the edema of the mastoid. So now, come back to our question. A 30-year-old female with a family history of hearing loss from mother side, developing hearing problem during pregnancy. Hearing loss is bilateral and progressive. Pure tone audiometry shows dip at 2000 Hz. So what is our answer? Yes, very good. Answer is our otosclerosis. So thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, give like and share to your friends. Thank you so much.